and welcome to UCBO Fiscal's Procurement Card Training. Today we'll be going over a number of topics. First, we'll be going over UCBO's role in the P-Card program. We'll also go over purchasing guidelines, cycles and limits for the P-Card. Then we'll move on to concur notification emails and UCBO's expectations for cardholders and our reconciliation procedure. Finally, we'll finish with card cancellations and additional resources. First, let's go over UCBO's role in the P-Card program. UCBO Fiscal is a card program department administrator. We ensure that all P-Card office policies and procedures are being followed. Policies often come straight from UCOP, and the university has little to no voice in making changes, but policies often do not explicitly address student programming. UCBO Fiscal researches how policies interact with college responsibilities on your behalf, and we communicate them as appropriate. The P-Card office establishes checks and balances that they deem necessary to ensure the university is meeting all audit requirements. This is communicated to all cardholders, and UCBO follows up through the Procurement Card listserv. The P-Card office advises all departments to establish any internal controls deemed necessary to ensure repeated policy violations do not occur. Next, we'll go over purchasing guidelines for the P-Cards. Here we have some examples of appropriate expenses. Some key ones to note are non-food student programming supplies, computer supplies. However, big items like computers or monitors should only be purchased after consulting ITS. Another one to note is local conference registrations. These are only allowed when no other travel expenses will be claimed. And lastly, prizes and raffles under $75 for student programming events only. For more details, visit our Confluence page. Next, here are some examples of inappropriate expenses. The big ones to note are any type of food for any purpose. This means that anything that can be consumed is not allowed on the P-Card. Flowers and plants are also not allowed. However, if they're fake, they're okay. Anything requiring a signed contract or any staff meeting or morale supplies are also not allowed. Services, rentals, and minor repairs are allowed only under exceptions, so please ask first before making those purchases. Because a lot of university purchases can be unique, IPPS does not provide explicit written policies on all purchases. Reasons for this include situations can be unique. For example, fund numbers matter as each fund has specific restrictions associated with them. Another example is conflict of interest. Employees and near relatives may not directly or indirectly benefit from purchases made using university funds. Also note, charitable donations cannot be made using common university funds. For example, supplies for shelters, for sale items that directly benefit charities, supplies for projects in which students are required to donate crafts. However, you can have a volunteer-based program if students are given the option to either keep or donate what they have made or contributed. Also, supplies may be purchased if only using fund-raised money. When purchasing prizes for student programming events, note that we will require extra information. When submitting your receipts, be sure to attach a completed prize distribution form and include in the ticket how each recipient was chosen for the prize. If you have a personal charge on your P-Card, first contact the vendor to see if a refund is possible. If a refund is given, submit a P-Card ticket with the refund receipt and original purchase receipt. No receipt will result in a violation. If a refund is not given, you will need to repay the university. You can do this by making a check to UC Regents and mailing it to UCBO Fiscal with attention to your fiscal contact. Or you can schedule an appointment with your fiscal contact to drop off a check or cash an exact change. When mailing a check, be sure to enclose the check in a folded paper to prevent mail theft and include brief notes regarding what the check is for. Make sure to notify your fiscal contact before mailing the check so they know to be on the lookout. Once payment is received and your fiscal contact has made a deposit, the deposit paperwork will act as the receipt for the charge. Note that until a deposit is made, personal charges will not be reconciled on Concur and you will continue to receive reminders of the unreconciled transaction. All purchases require receipts. If you have a missing receipt, first contact the vendor to see if they can provide a new receipt. If they can, proceed as usual as this will not be a missing receipt case. If they're unable to provide a duplicate receipt, submit a P-card ticket as normal and be sure to click the boxes for missing receipt and fill in your supervisor's information. The supervisor in the ticket will need to approve the ticket once it has been submitted. Once a ticket is fully submitted, your fiscal contact will reach out to IPPS for an exception and send the cardholder and supervisor a DocuSign. Once the exception is granted and a DocuSign is received, your fiscal contact will reconcile the expense. Note that the missing receipt process is cumbersome on purpose. IPPS counts each missing receipt case as a policy violation, so it's imperative that you try your hardest to not have any missing receipts. Too many violations will result in a suspended or canceled card. Next, let's go over cycles and limits. Cycles for P-cards begins on the 16th of every month and ends on the 15th of the next. If the 16th falls on a weekend or federal holiday, the cycle will begin on the first business day after. The single transaction limit for professional staff P-card is $5,000, and the monthly cycle is $20,000. You can review your purchasing history through US Bank Online. You can request purchasing exceptions under certain circumstances. Examples include if the purchase will exceed the single transaction limit or monthly cycle limit, or if you plan on purchasing restricted items. Restricted items are only allowed after a request has been approved and processed. Restricted purchases will count as a violation if made without approval. If you plan on making a purchase that will exceed the single transaction or monthly cycle limit, submit an Ask Fiscal ticket with the supplier name, estimated monetary amount of the single transaction, the date range you plan on making the purchase, and the business purpose for your purchase. Note that the turnaround time for limit increase requests are approximately 1 to 2 business weeks. Make sure to submit them early to ensure that you can make the purchase. Card declines will usually occur if you try to exceed your limit without prior approval. It could also occur if the merchant code is restricted or if your card limit was lowered to $1. In all decline situations, first call US Bank and then report to UCBO the reason for the decline through an Ask Fiscal ticket. We cannot know when and why there is a decline until you report it to us. Make sure to report it quickly so that we can get the matter sorted. Your spending limit is subject to being lowered to $1 if transactions are unreconciled for more than 45 days. This should not happen as long as receipts are submitted within 72 hours. Your fiscal contact will send at least one courtesy reminder, and Concur will send several automatic reminders. Limits will not be restored until all unreconciled receipts have been submitted, and continuous violations will result in card cancellation. Next, let's go over notification emails from Concur. Notifications that state blank has received updated company card transactions means that a new transaction has been posted to your account. When you see this email, you need to log into Concur to ensure that it is your purchase and not fraudulent. Do not create any Concur expense reports. Your fiscal contact will do this for you. After confirming your transaction, submit your receipts through a P-card ticket if you haven't already done so. There's no need to notify your fiscal contact when receiving a transaction posting notification. They will already be notified. After sending the initial notification of a new transaction, Concur will send 3 types of follow-up emails. Unassigned means unreconciled. This can mean one of 2 things. 1, receipts have not been submitted, or 2, your fiscal contact has not been able to reconcile yet. Not submitted means that the expense has been reconciled and is waiting to be submitted by your fiscal contact. Pending approval means that expenses have been reconciled, submitted, and pending approval by the approval queue. When getting unassigned emails, determine if receipts have already been submitted for those transactions. If no, submit the receipts as soon as possible. If yes, there is no action needed unless transactions are over 45 days. Unsubmitted and pending approval require no action. The three types of notifications will come dated: 15, 30, 45, 60, 90, and 120. These emails are automatic and will not stop until outstanding expenses have been reconciled. This frequency is set by IPPS based off requirements they need to ensure audit standards are met. These cannot be turned off. Typically, there is no action required unless transactions are over 45 days. If unreconciled transactions are over 45 days old, the P-Card team will lower your card limit to $1. If expenses are still outstanding at 150 days, your card will be canceled. You and your supervisor will be required to provide a valid reason as to why you did not address the outstanding concerns and come up with a plan as to how you will avoid outstanding receipts should your card be reinstated. These cases will be reviewed by the Fiscal Operations Manager and the P-Card team. In addition to concurrent emails, you will receive emails from your fiscal contact reminding you of unreconciled transactions. They will follow up with you on any outstanding items at least once a month, usually once the 15th day hits. The cardholder's responsibility is to respond back in a timely manner. The P-Card team sends out a monthly report called the Procurement Card Aging Report. This is sent out to all P-Card holders on the first Thursday of every month. Be sure to review the report to ensure there are no expenses you have not submitted a P-Card receipt form for. There is no action needed unless you are on 2 consecutive reports. Your fiscal contact will handle all other aspects of the report. As department administrators, Ling and Rachel manage a listserv for all UCBO P-Card holders to provide seasonal reminders, instructions on annual training renewals, information about training refreshers, and clarity about IPPS and UCOP policy changes and information on their impact. It is the cardholder's responsibility to read the emails and ask for clarification when needed. UCBO Fiscal provides updates in quarterly newsletters and at quarterly committee meetings. It's the cardholder's responsibility to read newsletter updates on Confluence, read materials provided after committee meetings if they were unable to attend, ask for clarification when needed, and reach out to Rachel if you would like us to attend your committee meeting that we typically do not attend. UCBO expectations for cardholders. General expectations are: check with your fiscal contact when making purchases that are unusual or frequent. If it's the first time, questionable, or controversial, respond back to inquiries in a timely manner, and communicate with your fiscal team directly if you have questions or feedback regarding policies and procedures. We will not know if you do not tell us. Per IPPS policy, all P-Card holders must renew their UC Learning training annually. Cardholders should aim to renew every July or August at the start of the fiscal year. In addition, you must take the UCBO P-Card quiz and pass with a 70% or higher. This quiz is to acknowledge that you have reviewed and are up to date on UCBO internal P-Card information. UCBO Reconciliation Procedure. Here is a general timeline of the reconciliation procedure. Once the purchase is made, collect your receipt. Tickets with the receipt should be submitted within 72 hours of purchase. After 72 hours, the transaction will post to Concur. The fiscal team will reconcile the receipt in a Concur expense report and submit it at the end of the month. Please keep in mind that the UCBO fiscal team will be working on tickets from the oldest submitted to the newest, not necessarily from the oldest purchased, but we will do our best. All receipts should be itemized with the purchased items including tax and show what card was charged. It should also show the date, merchant name, and address. Submit the receipts as an Adobe PDF. The Adobe Scan app is a helpful tool to scan receipts into PDFs. Name receipts with the following convention: PC-cardholder last name -merchant name -amount. An itemized receipt will list out all items purchased and include the tax information. A charge receipt will list out payment method. Most receipts will often fulfill both needs. Take a look at the itemized receipt on the left. It has all the items and the tax information, but it does not have the card information. On the other hand, the receipt on the right shows the card information. However, neither receipt has all required information, so both need to be attached to a P-card ticket. A notable receipt example is Amazon. It will only show the charged card information once the items have shipped. Step 2. Submit a ticket. Receipts must be submitted within 72 hours of making the purchase. This includes weekend hours. Delays in submitting receipts impacts business staff ability to reconcile expenses in a timely fashion, resulting in excess work. P-card limits will be lowered to $1 if expenses are overdue for more than 45 days. Cards may be suspended or canceled if receipts are continuously submitted late. To submit a P-card form, go to cboforms.ucsd.edu and log in with your business systems login. A demo on how to fill out the P-card form can be found on Confluence. Be sure to have all necessary documents on hand, your receipts, and price distribution forms if necessary. Business purposes should include who, what, when, where, and why. Who is going, attending, or receiving the good or service? What is the purpose of the travel, meeting, entertainment, goods or services? When did the event or purchase take place? Where did the event and purchase take place? Why was a purchase necessary, or how did the purchase benefit the university? For more details, visit the UCBO Business Purpose Guidelines on Confluence. Step 3. Transaction has posted to Concur. When receiving the email, log into Concur to ensure transactions are not fraudulent and submit a P-card ticket if you have not already done so. Fraudulent charges should be dealt with immediately. First, call the bank. They will cancel the affected card and issue a new one. You may need to fill out some bank forms. Then, submit an Ask Fiscal ticket letting us know of the fraudulent transaction and forward the completed forms. Failure to notify your contact may result in the cancellation of your card. The UCBO fiscal team will do our best to send out email reminders to cardholders and supervisors at least once a month for unreconciled expenses. If a staff member submits tickets on your behalf, reach out to them to see if a ticket has been submitted and ask for the ticket number. Submit all your ticket inquiries with the ticket number. Steps 4 and 5. UCBO reconciles and submits. Be sure to not edit any expenses or create or submit any reports. Your fiscal contact will do this for you. Reasons why cards get canceled. Cards can get canceled for several reasons. Cardholders are consistently not following purchasing restriction guidelines. Cardholders have too many personal purchases. Cardholders consistently do not submit their receipts on time. And cardholders have too many missing receipts or do not make a conscious effort to obtain their missing receipts. Auditors specifically look for the conscious effort we take to ensure that repeated action does not occur. Additional resources. Resources can be found on Confluence, Blink, and through the quarterly newsletters or office hours. If your question cannot be answered with available resources, feel free to reach out through an Ask Fiscal ticket or directly to your fiscal contact through email.
And this brings us to the end of the procurement card training. Thank you for sticking with us this far. You may now proceed to the annual quiz.